So one of the Brellas have finally been acknowledged by Nintendo. No, they didn't buff any of them outside of Salmon Run and a couple of really nice bug fixes, but we got a new kit. The Tenta Brella is equipped with Ink Mine and Trizuka, and as a rare Brella enthusiast, I would like to give my thoughts on this weapon, and maybe some tips for anyone deciding they want to try the weapon out. So I actually think this weapon has a ton of potential, but I need to talk about why it didn't have the same kind of potential when it only had the vanilla kit. It's basically only because InkVac sucks. Get it? Because, no, really, it wasn't a problem with the sub-weapon. Beacon is actually really good on Tent, but more and more people are coming to the conclusion that InkVac is the single worst special in the game right now. And while it has a little bit of synergy with the Tent shield, it definitely isn't worth putting up with all of the problems with InkVac. And plus, the brand new kit actually has more synergy with the Tent than the vanilla kit. Let's talk about it. One of the main weaknesses with Trizuka is it's hard to get into position, and it's very vulnerable, especially if you miss a shot. But with the Tent shield, you can just straight up force yourself into position, and everyone, especially backlines, have to respect a moving Tent shield with Trizuka ready. And even if you miss a shot, you have your shield to keep you safe. Now, if someone gets on top of you, it's not the easiest thing to hit them consistently with Trizuka, but most people don't really want to get up close to a Tent shield with a Trizuka inside of it anyway. Just please don't panic button the special. Basically, Tent gets to play with Trizuka way further up than any other weapon can do safely, already giving it a pretty interesting niche, especially considering Trizuka is actually pretty good against some of the best specials in the game right now, like Crab Tank and Inkjet. And we haven't even gotten to Ink Mine yet. Let me tell you, this sub is actually super underrated. Is it the best sub in the game? No. In fact, it doesn't even come close, but it's way more useful than you first might think. For synergy points with Tent, it blows it out of the park. Tent really likes deployable subs because it is very ink hungry, and because Tent can really force your opponent to fight you in one way or direction, Ink Mine traps are actually halfway reliable. And when somebody falls for an Ink Mine trap, Tent's inconsistent damage is actually helped quite a bit. And also, while extremely situational, the location of effect of the mines can line up your Trizuka shots a lot better. Just saying. Now, let's talk about how this weapon plays. The Sorella Tent doesn't play too much differently than the vanilla kit, but there are some notable differences. Because you don't have beacons, the playstyle of constantly being in the enemy team's walls, so to speak, isn't as easy. But because of the kit synergy of the threat of Trizuka and a Tent shield at the same time and Ink Mine traps, this Tent can push up more safer than the other Tent, and be able to defend itself with more than just the main weapon, which is really nice because the main weapon by itself isn't the best. You still don't want to launch your Brella straight into an entire enemy team. That's just a recipe to get your shield broken super fast, but I do believe you can play a little bit further forward than the other kit, and secure space a lot better than the vanilla kit. So how good is it? Well, of course the weapon has only been out for a couple of days, so the best I can really do is just guess. And coming from a non-competitive player with a very limited knowledge of the competitive scene, I personally think the weapon will be in a similar spot to something like the Hydra Splatling. Nobody's really out here saying the Hydra is terrible, but the weapon has enough flaws to be held back from among the best weapons in the game. This doesn't mean Hydra is bad or unplayable. It's still pretty good. It just means it's more situational than other weapons, especially considering it's competing with Ballpoint's place, which is one of, if not the best main weapons in the game. I think Tent is in a pretty similar spot. It's not necessarily as outclassed as something like Hydra, but its Trizuka niche is kind of competing for something like the vanilla splatter shot. However, I do think that this Tent does have an interesting enough niche with the more aggressive Trizuka, and just to do normal Tent things, which many other weapons can't do, but we shall see soon enough. Now, of course, to anybody watching this video who thinks that this sounds great and wants to try out Tent, do be warned, the main weapon still isn't the best. There still can be some inconsistency issues with lag, shield bugs, and the damage values, and even the slow fire rate and low ink efficiency can be very difficult to get used to, and is very off-putting to a lot of people, understandably. I was one of these people back in Splatoon 2, but because I stuck to it and studied Tent gameplay online, I eventually was able to figure out how to play this really fun weapon. So basically what I'm trying to say is, don't just try it for 3 games and just say nope. Give it a real shot. Or, just play Anarchy Nova. I won't blame you, this weapon's surprisingly fun anyway. This has nothing to do with Tent. It's a really fun weapon, I just If you haven't tried it, it's really fun. You should give it a try. Well, what are your thoughts on the Tenta Brella? I'd love to hear them in the comments. But with that said, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. My name is CATLOAFMAN, and I will see you in the next one.